Welcome to Peak Pad, peak performance in a time of Corona. Welcome to our viewers on Facebook and welcome to everyone here on this platform. We're now living in uncertain times. The global pandemic has infected our lives in more ways than one. How are you coping, really? How are you looking after your wellness? Or more importantly, how are you taking care of your wholeness? Our focus today is on reimagining wholeness. This is an honest and open conversation among peers to help ourselves so we can help each other to the fullest in whatever our roles are, at home, at work, in community. My name is Joanna Alberto. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of Ignite Center for Peak Experiences. As we have a heavy emphasis here, when it comes to professionals and corporate, we like to understand peak performance, most especially in the context of work, while admitting, of course, that we cannot really divide ourselves into separate pieces, no? Work versus family versus community. It's always gonna be together. It's about life, it's our life. But let's use work as jump off point while feeling free to weave in family and community. Please allow me to introduce to you our panel for today's discussion about wholeness. Let's start off with our founder and CEO of Ignite House, Andre Yap. Andre, please say hi.
Hello. Good afternoon to everybody. Really happy to see everyone here and looking forward to having fun, meaningful conversation with everybody. Thank you, Joanna. And hello to our other featured guests. We're going to have a good time.
Yep, we will. Okay, CEO of Ignite House, Aileen Gutierrez.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks, Joanna. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little nervous because, as you guys know, I'm always the person behind the scenes. So this is kind of like a new thing for me, but thanks for considering me for this session. Hi, boss. Hi, Andre. How are you doing?
Hello, ma'am. You're the real boss.
I'm really happy that Eileen's screen is working. She's supposed to be incognito now. Because of this internet, this internet now is so flaky. We don't know what's going to happen next. But I'm really happy you're here. I hope you won't disappear, no? But just feel free to hop on and hop off. We will be here anyway till 5 p.m. Okay, and of course, a lovely guest, our special guest, Senior AVP in the Philippine banking industry, Sydney Rubio. Please say hi.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Joanna. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to share whatever insights we may be able to help others.
Okay, when I told Sydney earlier about this, she was telling me, it's going to be like Oprah. Masyado mahirap. It's so hard for me to, that's too high for me. Anyway, let's start off this discussion already by asking each of our panel, in your own words, what does it mean to be whole? So can we start off with you? You're already there, Sydney. Can you tell us in your own words, what does it mean to be really whole?
Does it mean to be whole? Everything which encompasses the meaning of whole. So you have to be spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically confident and how do you call this, strong about yourself. And if you feel that you are weak in those other things that I've just mentioned a while ago, that's when you start concentrating on it.
All right. So it's more about, you mentioned spiritually, so it's more of maybe being, it's more of wellness, is it? Is it more of your holistic well-being? Because you're considering not only just the physical well-being, as I hear you saying it, no? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes,
okay. So
everything basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sid. Now let's hear from Aileen.
To me, wholeness, three things. Number one, it has to do with being able to discover my gifts, the gifts that I was given, whether skills, talents, and abilities. Two, once I discover this gift, I want to be able to use it to serve, whether it's individuals or organizations that I have compassion for, meaning I care for them and I share the pain that they have, or I share the mission that they have. And third, as I continuously use these gifts that I was given, I still discover new things as I solve problems or as I am thrust into situations that I'm really unfamiliar with. So that's my concept of what wholeness really is.
Okay, so that's a different perspective. Naman. So, now, but let's hear it from Andre. Andre.
Good afternoon. So, on a Saturday afternoon, after the weeks we've been through, what it means to be whole is having a drink. I hope you have a
That's
nice
unfair. You're the only one with a glass.
one. I won't tell you what's in here, though. So, first of all, cheers to everyone. Thanks for joining us again. What does it mean to be whole? Since Aileen already stole my answer.
I'm so sorry. That's my answer.
No. Hey, look, listen. What does it mean to be whole? I believe the mere fact that we're talking about that alludes to its importance, no? So why do we need to be whole to begin with, no? The whatness of wholeness to me has to do with its why. What do I mean? Wholeness allows us to be most fully alive. Let me contrast it with maybe some popular notions of wholeness out there. Wholeness to me doesn't mean that you're not in some way, shape, or form in pain or carrying some hurt, but that in your pain and in your hurt, you can still find and still have the desire to seek your gifts and figure out how do I combine my talents, my gifts, and my pains so that I can be a force in the universe to do whatever good it is that I can do for whoever I can do it for. So for me, a whole person is not necessarily without back pain or is not necessarily stress-free. They have anxieties. They may carry a lot of burdens, but they are always able to get up each day and find it in themselves to be a force in the universe to do good. So that to me is wholeness. And in contrast, you have somebody, for example, who is in the classic sense of wellness. Let's use another word. Is well. Maybe they're doing yoga and they can breathe freely and they're stress-free. But if that person is not able to channel their gifts to make the world a better place, I do not consider that wholeness. So to me, wholeness is being able to manifest goodness in the world coming from your gifts, but also coming from your pains.
Okay, thank you, Andre. Now you stole my piece. No, let's back up a bit. No, let's back up a bit, okay? So I have some props here. I have it's white. So I hope you can see this one. Okay, it's a 4-point star. So I don't know if everybody knows, but I'm a yoga teacher. So in yoga, for you to be whole, you have to unite your body, mind, and spirit. Okay. So this 4-point star, for me, it symbolizes that. So dinagdag ko lang. I just added something. It's body. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. There you go. Body, mind, heart, and spirit. So that is what it means to be well. Before I joined Ignite, this is how I defined wholeness. Holistic wellness. So you will be able to have a winning mindset and for you to be able to have sustainable self-care habits. So meaning you will take care of all these aspects. For instance, body. You take care of your body, you exercise every day, you eat good food. Okay, tick. Then your mind. Okay, I don't have any mental issues. I'm sound, mentally sound. Okay, tick. That's part of wholeness. Next, heart. When it comes to emotions, I'm always in control. I'm always centered. I can deal with stress in a way that I will not be, just blurting out any kind of negative emotions or being angry at people just like that. Okay, tick. I'm going to be whole. So what did I miss? Spirit. Spiritually, that means that I'm taking care of my soul. I pray every day, I meditate. So that's another thing. So you take all those 4 aspects, body, mind, heart, and spirit. That's what I used to believe. Once you have all those four tick, I'm whole. Yoga, I'm in a blissful state. I'm good. I'm whole. I can be there for my family or for my friends anytime. Now there's a different story now. This is another pyramid. Okay. This actually opens up into a 4-point star. Same thing. The body, mind, heart, and spirit is here. However, in the middle, we have placed GPS. GPS. I'm not going to tell you what this is yet. We will be talking about it later on. And this 4-point star can fold into a pyramid. And this symbolizes a whole person. Okay? So I'll leave it at that for now. And we'll move on to our next para suspense, no? We'll talk about that and we'll deep dive into that later on towards the end of the show. So we'll start off now with this diagnostic storytelling. We will ask our guests, no? How is your performance these days? So we will know how to, start. Where are we now in terms of wholeness? So how is it affecting your performance this day? How would you rate yourself from 1 to 4? Are you on top of your game or are you totally out of it? Let us hear some stories. Maybe we can start off with Sydney.
On top of my game, meaning to say, how am I performing in terms of work the past few days ever since we had a quarantine?
I lost you for a while. Sorry, again.
We're talking about how am I performing ever since the quarantine happened.
Yes, about work. Like for instance, if you're Sydney is a corporate person. You're an executive. So how are you performing at work right now? In terms of comparing yourself to how you were before the COVID.
Okay. I think I'm pretty much the same. I don't know whether it goes with age. I just let things be. There are things that you are not in control of, and there are things that you are in control of. So it was quite difficult for us because there are a lot of security measures in the banking industry. And in order for you to get a document, it would have to take a lot of things that you have to do. And part of it is really to go back to work. I mean, risking having to go to work. And, well, I'd like to be able to share to all the listeners there. I'm asthmatic and I have a little bit of a heart issue. So I wouldn't want to risk it. So I'm very grateful that I do have a team who basically supports me and a boss whom I frequently speak to every now and then all throughout the week, like let's say thrice or even 4 times a week. And then we have tasks to do. So I pretty much am the same as it is. It's just that you're a little bit limited to the things that you can do as opposed to that when you are there physically, visibly at work. When you have all the things or the resources that you are with in order for you to be able to do it.
Let me ask you, are you working from home now? Or are you fully, you have to go to the office every day still? Is it the same?
Initially, we actually had gone to work, but the following day, I decided not to anymore because it was quite risky already. So we do communicate ever since Tuesday of last week. We started communicating already through the net.
So in terms of these changes that you are experiencing right now, how would you rate yourself from 1 to 4? Which 4 is being the highest? Like in terms of the changes, how were you able to cope in terms of all this negative impact of COVID?
I think I'd say 3.5.
3.5?
Yes.
3.5. Great. That's great to hear because I've been talking to a lot of my other friends, especially those in the operations, no? Having a hard time. One's telling me, Joanna, I'm sinking right now. She's teary-eyed in front of her boss because I'm sure because she's in the procurement. So that means I'm sure that she's having a hard time finding suppliers, right?
Yes.
I was also talking to another one food industry. So they're also so busy because they're actually taking care of delivering food to the hospitals as well,
Yes.
all this stuff. So she said, I haven't had a decent lunch. She starts work at 7 and ends at 10, but she's at home. Like she can't figure out why is this so stressful. Anyway, so that's something just to add to what you're saying. Aileen, let me hear from you. How is it now for you in terms of
Um,
your performance?
yeah, I would probably rate two important aspects of my life differently in this scale. In terms of work, I would probably say a three in a scale of one to four.
Mhm.
Why a three? I define a three as being able to manage the situation. I personally and my team, we get things done within what my expectations are in terms of what we're supposed to deliver. Although I do aspire to get to a four, which to me I would define as being able to harness this situation. Because right now I respond to what's being thrown my way, but I haven't really figured out how to turn this situation around and kind of like deliver something that I personally would say, whoa, I did that even with the constraints. I'm not
Mhm.
there yet. In terms of my family life with my parents in particular, maybe a two, because I'm home, but I'm not home. My previous routine sort of embedded opportunities for me and my parents to have like meaningful conversations over breakfast when they're driving me to work, when they're picking me up from the office. So, because that office setting is no longer there, I don't get to have that routine conversation with them, or maybe I haven't gotten or figured out how to embed that back into this new routine that I have. So those two things are rated differently for me.
Yeah, you mentioned no, you're home, but you're not home.
Yes.
That's I think.
Yeah, my day starts really early, like at sometime 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. It ends very late also, like 11 or 12. So I'm trying to figure out how to find that time box. We've talked about this yesterday
Yeah.
when we had that meeting with the team. So I'm not there yet.
Yeah, you mentioned the time boxing, you're home, but you're not home. And just to mention to you, this is my son's room. I sequestered my son's room today. I'm home. I'm in his room. Okay, so before asking Andre, I would like to ask if there's our dear viewers. We have some guests here inside the Google platform, so I would like to ask them to participate by just typing in your own answers when it comes to your performance these days. How would you rate yourself from 1 to 4? Uh, and if you can, we're open. If you want to unmute your mic and just chime in so that you can hop in and join our conversation, that will be more fun. So for the people in Facebook, I apologize. I don't think we will be able to answer or bring you in. So that's quite difficult. No, we next time maybe you can join us here inside the virtual room so that it'll be easier for us to see you and hear you out. So again, for the viewers here in the platform, please feel free to type in so we can see what you think. Andre, it's your turn.
All right, so I have to take your scale of 1 to 4 and the quantitative and qualitative questions that come with that based on my own definition, right? So, for example, I'm not gonna be doing this rating on trying to parse myself out in terms of my being a family person versus being a work person. So, to me, as a person, scale of 1 to 4, 4 being at a peak performance, I would say 4. But my scale is out of 6. Why? Why? Because and it came to me as we were conversing. Wholeness, I'm not so sure is a state. I see wholeness more of is as a lifelong journey. No, there might be a sense in which today I feel whole and tomorrow I figure out in a very real sense that I have to work on this, I have to work on that in order to again to bring it back to my definition, which is very personal to me. That wholeness is a function of my ability to bring out what's good in me and the pains that I have in order to channel it towards making the world a better place. And today, these days of disruption, total disruption, as you well know, it's like tailor made for a guy like me, right? I have always been in businesses where, and in occasions where I was trying to sell people on, hey, not business as usual, right? We're in the business of innovation. Ignite is the house of innovation. And we're always pushing people to think differently, to see things differently. And now, lo and behold, there is no choice. You don't even have to preach this. The world, there is no business as usual anymore. People talk about a new normal. What is that? Well, we have to figure that out ourselves. I'm not sure I know that myself. But what I can say is in these past 14 days of quarantine, and you know this, and everyone in our team knows this, we have performed at an exceptionally high level, where we have churned out iterations of our solutions in a matter of hours, so that we can stay relevant to our customers, no? To our markets, and to stay. What do I mean by stay relevant? Is really not in a self-serving way. To stay relevant means really looking at, in our case, it's the top three rungs of corporate, right? From the CEO to the excom to the one downs and two downs, and really looking at what are their pains in a situation like this. And in so focusing on their pains and how we can heal their pains, given our gifts, we have been able to bang out products very quickly. 4 products in the past, in the first 7-8 days of the crisis. No? So much so that I've had to remind the team again and again, every so often, that, hey, we cannot stay in a bubble where we think that all teams are operating at this level. We have to remind ourselves that, you know, when we're going out there, and by going out there, of course, I mean, we're staying in here indoors, but we're going out there, we're getting, we're talking to people. A lot of people we're talking to are in various stages of disarray. In fact, I find that the bigger the company is, the more, in a sense, they've ground to complete hulks, right? So to the extent that we managed to stay relevant to our markets, and we've managed to rally the team, to stay focused, stay organized, and to throw out solutions that make sense, I believe we're a 4. But just this morning when I woke up, I sat down on my computer, I created a spreadsheet. You know, I was telling the team that nowadays, this notion of fixed roles and fixed KPIs, which is what we've always operated on in a sense, is no longer enough, right? So we've created a new sort of system to make ourselves accountable to the team, to each other, and to ourselves. And that was very simply, beyond my KPIs, how do I rate my impact to our mission, to the team, to our customers this week? And everybody's supposed to answer that qualitatively, right? So I that's new, right? That's like, I woke up this morning and I thought about that, and it wasn't present yesterday. So the scale is always moving. I feel like a 4 today, but the scale is the 6, right? So
We should have placed the scale 1 to 10, no? So that you're gonna be within the range. Or it's gonna be, if we set it at 10, you're gonna be at 10, and then you still tell me that you're gonna be at 12. Okay.
yeah.
It doesn't matter, no? So anyway, that's what you're talking about work. But what about at home? Since Aileen already mentioned how she was performing at home, maybe you can also share with us, how are you performing at home?
But Joanna, that's precisely the premise I mentioned before I answered. I answered on I'm not going to parse myself out according to work, home. To me, if I may mention, you mentioned GPS, and of course, we're not going to
reveal it.
We're not going to reveal exactly what that is right now. But if I'm true to I mean, everybody will recognize the notion in pop culture of true north, right? Or an inner compass.
Yes.
If I were to really listen to my true north right now, to my inner compass, I believe where life is calling me is to be of service at work right now. My wife is in a very good place, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So are my kids, my household staff. They're good. But the world out there that I have to serve at work is not as good. They need 110% of me. So I'm not I'm not gonna give in to that tendency because that's not my definition of wholeness. My definition of wholeness is where is my goodness being called to today, and that's where I'm gonna pour it out. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm pouring it out where it's calling, where it's screaming to be called out.
Okay, so you're saying that in different, times, you have to make sure that you're on auto shift when you're being called to serve in the community, or you're being called to serve at work, or to serve your family in terms of priorities, and it doesn't really matter where you're at. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I think you're onto something there. I mean, I don't have these philosophies fixed in my head, but in business, for example, there's this notion of a balanced scorecard, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to, in a sense, by your question, impose on me. Okay, how's you're a 4 out of 4 in your work life. How about your family life, right? And how about your spiritual life? How about your um, to me, it's not a balanced scorecard that way. It's staying alive and true to the. Put it this way, I shared. Facebook was nice enough a few days ago to remind me, those Facebook memories.
Yeah.
Facebook dug up a memory from, I believe, 2012. What a pleasant surprise. I woke up one of these mornings. And it reminded me of a post I made that happened that morning, exact morning, 8 years ago, where the story was I had just come from morning mass at the Ateneo High School. And I ran into a Jesuit priest. And the Jesuit priest, among many other things, and I wrote it down verbatim. He said, Andre, dance to the rhythm of God. Dance to the rhythm of God. Not with a passive surrender, but with an active surrender. So, I'm not much of a dancer, but you can
I know.
right? You can visualize a dancer, a couple dancing. And if you have a passive surrender, it's going to be awkward. But if you have an active surrender, right, that's where the flow comes. So to me, that's life of wholeness, is being able to dance to the rhythm of life, where it's calling you, instead of like being rigid and looking at it like a scorecard that says, okay, 25% work, 25, or whatever your scale is. To me, where is life calling you? Where is life calling your gifts? Where is life calling your pains? And that's where you must be. And right now, where that is for me is the markets that we serve at work. My wife is fine. My kids are fine. My whole family is fine. There's this guy in CNN. He has a show called Como. He's the brother of the governor of New York. Everyone must know him right now. And whenever the next anchor comes in and asks him, "How are you?" and he will say, "Better than I deserve. Better than I
Wow.
deserve." So I feel like all around me, my family is better than what they deserve. So I need to go where I'm needed.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Andre. I would like to ask Sarah. Can you unmute your mic, please, and tell us what you wrote in the chat box, if you don't mind? Sarah? Okay, I think Sarah's having a hard time with the internet. I'm gonna try to read it for her, and then if once you think you're in, just hop in. I'm doing good, although I have to admit that there are times that my focus is scattered and my anxiety is hindering me to be productive. Are you back? Are you there, Sarah?
Yes,
Go,
yes.
you're there.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
All right.
I thought it was recording. So yeah. So I typed there that I'm doing good, yes. But although I have to admit that it's still challenging for me to my focus, especially at work. But and there are also times that that and my anxiety is still getting the best of me. So I'm trying my best to manage my anxiety attacks because well I used to know my triggers, but now the triggers are different. So it's all Yes, because I have this mixed emotions of frustrations. I have a lot of frustrations and postponed, stemming from postponed plans, a lot of postponed plans, and then there are several news about the government inefficiency. So all those stuff, all welling in my head, keeps it triggers my anxiety. So, but uh, after the lockdown, well, since the lockdown started, I was really at the lowest because there were times at night I would cry before I sleep, and then when I wake up I would cry. Those stuff. But now I feel like I'm coping well, I guess. So I put there 3, but it's somehow between 2.5 and 3 actually. So because there are still times that I just find myself crying and feeling hopeless about everything. But I try to fix on that. So yeah, that's it.
May I comment?
Yes, sure.
Go ahead, Andre.
Of course, I don't think this is a show where anybody is an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. Although, as you can see, I have very strong views about my own wholeness, which I don't naman try to impose on everybody else. But if I may comment on Sarah's, right? Um,
Yes.
but she brought up certain elements there that actually touch on my personal definition and sense of being whole and being able to perform as a whole human being with everything you've got. So, for example, crying out loud about what the government is doing, which seems to be everyone's favorite pastime nowadays. This to me is counter to the notion of wholeness, because that is not something that you can do anything about. That has nothing to do with your gifts and being able to channel your gifts. So to me, wholeness is about focusing everything you've got literally on what you've got to give. And what you've got to give has nothing to do with what Duterte or this freaking senator is doing. We expend so much of our energy castigating and, I don't know, jumping on some person who made a mistake and maybe they deserve it. But even if they deserve it, how does that make us any more whole? Like, I spend all of my energy focusing. If I'm gonna get anxious, it's because I'm not doing or my team is not doing what we can do. I'm not gonna get anxious because my president is not doing what because I can't do anything about that. So to me, wholeness is really focusing on what is good about you and what that good can do in the universe, and channeling all your energies there. Otherwise, you the 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 other alternative is we're gonna get torn apart, especially in this day and age where at the moment you wake up, there's 101 things that can tear you apart about what's wrong with the universe. My question is, what's right with you? Because what's right with you is what you can give to make this world a better place. And that's what kept myself and my team alive, vibrant, and as fully functional as a team can be since this happened. We're focusing on what we can do, not what others are doing.
Okay, let me ask. First, I would like to thank you, Sarah, for being so honest and open about your attacks. It's something that's happening to you. It's very personal. No, thank you so much for opening up. I just want to ask you, how did you move from 1 to 2.5? You mentioned that, so there has to be something already there, right?
Maybe talking to friends, I guess, that
Okay.
kind of eased my anxiety, as well as with the people who share the same outlook as me, I guess. And also when I naturally tend to vent out to some of my friends as well. So with that, I can somehow unload my baggage. But I'm making it to a point that it will not seem toxic to them. So yeah, I think constant communication with the friends, with the outside world, with the people who are not with me right now. I think that's what keeps me grounded recently. Yeah.
You have
Joanne,
any
can I share?
thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Sydney, by all means. Yeah.
Can I share something?
Yeah.
When this quarantine started, I was very much for whatever the government was saying in terms of trying to keep us all together, because the fight is not really about anyone, it's about the virus. Okay. And well, as the days go by, there's so many news about, people not abiding with the law and everything. It's not about problem, because when I was looking at it, when I was looking back at things that I used to do for the first few days of quarantine, I didn't really mind whatever it was that I saw on your social media. But then you realize, if you try to make people aware of what's currently happening without getting mad, like for instance, trying to make people aware, why is it important to vote for the proper people? Why is it that we need to know and be aware of the current things? Because so suddenly people started doing things out of the blue. They started doing the mask, they started to doing PPS suits out of nothing, because it's the awareness that you create and they need to be able to help. As you said,
Yes.
it's actually channeling your energies in order for you to make a difference. And that probably is the way, is one way for people to be able to make a difference of being able to help. If we don't find relief from our government, then we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, I agree totally with you. Okay, thank you, Sid. We will talk about this more in a bit. No, I just want to ask. See, Eileen. Eileen, you have some thoughts about what Andre said. You want to jump in?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to move on to the next question, because I asked you about yourselves, right? How are you performing? But I want to ask, what about your team? You all have a team. We're all working, and we have a team with us. So how would you rate where they are right now? Like, we're looking at our teams now as human beings as well, not as somebody who's like going to work like before. No, they have their own needs. They have their different needs now, actually, in this new norm. So let's let's examine contributing factors, that what's keeping them afloat. How are they performing? Uh, Sydney, you're on the screen. Maybe you can just
Mm.
contribute.
Well, most of the people that we work with do not have means to go to work. The transportation is a challenge to them. But as much as possible, they try to be able to do whatever it is that they're asked of, in terms of delivering of work. We're in training and development, so probably, as I hear it from the other guest speakers, we come from different, how do you call this? Different business units, wherein there is an immediate need if you're in operations, but we're not in operations. We're somehow support. And the team is okay. The team is doing well. We The nice thing about it is that we don't force people to go to work if they can. Um, the bank is very, how do you call it? The bank is very understanding, specifically for
Okay,
those who can't go to work. But we're doing well.
that's great to hear. No, Eileen, how's your team?
I rated myself a 3, but I'm gonna give both my teams a 4, and I have very
Oh,
specific examples as to why. I handle the shared services team and the platforms team, but because of time, and I want to talk about both of them, but I'll probably talk about the shared services, um, at least for this session. So the shared services team is the support team of Ignite. That's HR, finance, and admin. To be honest, they're at the top of their game. They were never at the firefighting mode during the entire transition. They really were able to manage this situation well. And then on top of that, they found opportunities to make things better for the organization, meaning they weren't just responding to the problems. They were taking the problems by the head and figuring out, okay, next time this happens, how are we going to address this? Or how do we fold this into our current operation so that it's better than how it was before. Some of the things that they were able to deliver included, one, migrating the entire workforce of Ignite to a work from home status in, I say, 3 days or less. That includes building infrastructure, creating the processes. We were trying to get everyone on the go live Monday after the Friday that the announcement was made. They were also able to, over the course of the days after Friday when the announcement was made, redesign existing processes and protocols. So they made themselves very relevant, even within the first week and then even the second week. And I have to give them like a 4 because they were doing this on top of what I call our normal operations, because nothing that was required of us, both from finance and HR, stopped. We had to like fold this entire situation into existing deliverables that we had to deliver despite COVID-19. But this is what I consider the most important change that I've seen in the shared services team. And this is true for the platforms team also. It's how quickly they were able to adapt to this notion in our organization that was introduced by Miguel and by Andre, which is rapid prototyping for solutions, for problem solving. Because traditionally, HR, admin, finance, they're very, very structured. So it's not as flexible as you want. They're not as flexible as you want them to be. So one of my key insight, and I think one of the biggest wins that we have as a team, is that we were able to bend that rule, that we can be very, very agile, even if we're still very structured. So that's why I give them a 4. And they enjoy it. I think that's the most important thing.
I think some of your team are here. You're hearing Aileen for now for.
Daily or weekly, at least twice a week checkpoint with the shared services team. And we always have, we make time to talk about what we learned over the course of the week, how they are, and if they're enjoying everything that's happening despite these things that we have to deliver. They've never been more excited. They're always energetic in the call. It's like most of the time I'm the one, originally or before, it was me who sort of like monopolizes the meeting, the conversation. These days I'm just there listening to what their insights were, what they wanted to execute. So I'm really, really happy with where the team is, both personally with the way they feel about the work they do and the things that they're able to deliver.
Okay, I think because of this COVID-19, everyone is on steroids, no?
Oh, yeah.
hyper mode. Okay, Andre.
Well, it's good. I had the benefit of listening to Aileen. Original answer after Aileen. Okay, so original answer. Listen, I'm the leader. The buck stops with me. So if I rate myself a 4, to my mind, I cannot rate myself as the leader as a 4 if my team isn't a 4. The reason I can be a 4 as a leader is because my team is there. My team is not there as a 4. I'm not a 4. If I'm a 4, the team is a 4. And they have been that. However, listening to Aileen, who gave herself a 3 and her team a 4, I see her point. And it's this for me. Modesty aside, I've always known this about myself. The harder it gets, the more I will show up. And so nothing about my being a 4 right now surprises me. But the way the team has come together, Aileen talked about the story of our shared services team. And I remember that day the whole team was in a company retreat, strategic planning. We were ending the first quarter and transitioning to the second quarter. We were 3 days in the beach in Batangas. And in the middle of those 3 days, this whole quarantine thing happened. No more going to work. And I remember, because they were right outside my room, I had gone to sleep maybe Thursday night. Thursday night was when President Gutierrez announced the quarantine, which has now become the enhanced community quarantine. I remember going to sleep around maybe 11:30. And they were there. They were meeting, the shared services team. And I said, what are you meeting about? Oh, we're talking about how to figure out how to do remote work from home. So the next morning I woke up and I saw the remnants of their work session, and I figured they must have gone to sleep a little after But it turns out they were awake until the wee hours of the morning, and they did not stop until they had a plan that they could. That then they cascaded, if you remember, to the whole team the very next day. So that even before we left Batangas, we already knew what we were going to transition to. And it wasn't so much the technicalities and the X's and O's of how we were going to transition from here to here. It was the all-encompassing confidence and optimism and assurance that gave psychically to everybody for the shared services team to lead that way. And it showed us that we had a team that was going to be in control, we were going to be okay because we have these kinds of people, right? And the shared services team, to their credit, has always been in the background. They're at the very background of the background of the background. And for them to rise up at a snap like that, it was just, to me, a supreme reassurance that our team is going to be okay, right? And I can say that of every other unit and I'm a person of profound exactitude. I'm not going to say that of every single person. But most people in our team, and definitely every unit in our team, has exceeded. When I talk about we now live in a time and place where KPIs and roles fixed are no longer enough, what I'm telling you is that our team has responded without me asking, without Aileen asking. People have transcended their roles and their KPIs. They folded up their sleeves and they've done what needs to be done without anybody asking. And that's why we are a 5 out of 4 when you ask me about the team.
Nice, a 5. I have another story that quick lang. Kasi when that announcement was made, Marianne and I, who's the head of the shared services, we had a quick chat about, MA, let's sit down and plan this. And then MA went like, ay, okay lang ba if I do it with my team first, and then we talk to you in the morning and run it by you, so you can wear a very different hat when we're going through the process. Before, kasi our system is that I'm in the middle of the fold as we do this brainstorming, this problem solving. But I was really, really impressed when they decided na, no, ay, okay lang, tomorrow we'll run this by you. Can you let us figure this out on our own? So parang proud mother moment, if for lack of a better term, yung situation na yun. I actually didn't know how to respond to that because I felt like all of a sudden, oh my God, they don't need me. But then again, I realized that, okay, maybe the years of working together sort of like prepared them for this situation. And it was just the right time for them to like go ahead and own this and really run with whatever ideas they had in mind.
Okay, thank you, Aileen. What I'm hearing from everyone, even with Sydney. Sydney, are you still there? I think we lost her video. Sydney? What I want to ask is that, what do you think is that the thing, okay, the contributing factor that's keeping each and every one of your team and you yourself whole these days? Because it seems like even with Sydney, she's saying that her team is okay, and then you and Andrea, you're saying that we're on steroids, no? Everybody's exceeding expectations of their bosses. So, Sydney, what do you think is keeping you and your team whole?
Just like what the other guys, like Andre and Aileen said, it's the constant communication with them that keeps everyone, how do you call it, sane. I think I'd use the word sane. Not only do we, I think I would actually be in the same boat, on the same line as what the two guys said, Andre and Aileen, when they said that they not only communicate in terms of work, but they also ask how are they coping, how are they doing. Because if it's just all work, you feel that in this time wherein everything is uncertain and then you just ask about work, of course you're also, how do you call this? You're also wanting to know how is that person doing, how is the individual doing, considering that there's so much chaos out there, so to speak.
Yeah, that's really true. No, like what I said earlier, we're looking at our teams as human beings, not as employees, not somebody who's going to be doing this like robots. No, that's what we're allergic here in Ignite. We treat people as human beings. We don't treat people as somebody who's coming in and out of work just punching in and out like robots, delivering what they need to deliver each day. And it goes the same with the bosses, right? With the leaders like you, being able to make them feel that they are important. Wait. What about you? What's making you whole these days?
Me,
Yeah, you.
my family, the mere fact, well, I think it's different because I wouldn't really say that because I'm a woman, but that's my priority with everything else. The idea that I have my family there, I know that they're okay, is keeping me whole. Being able to cope with the situation, somehow try to filter the things that you hear. One thing I do notice: do not ever read anything about the situation that we currently have before sleeping. You sleep with it, and then what's interesting, Joanna, is that I find so much time doing things that I wasn't able to do before.
Yeah.
The exercising was something that I've always struggled because I needed to squeeze in time because in the bank it's really a rat race there when we go to work. But also I have the time to cook now. Would you believe I'm able to cook for my family breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and at the same time do work too, and be able to read so many things that when we get back to work, because that's one thing also that our group head and our bosses would say: the minute that work resumes, it's not as if you pick up from where you left behind. You'd be able to answer all the things that stopped at the time that we were all locked down, but be able to continue from where we left behind as if things didn't happen, as if there was no lockdown.
That's great. Aileen, before I call Andre, I think he's having something on the side. What about you? What's making you whole these days?
Well, I'm not completely whole. So I think that's beautiful. I don't see any problem with that because that's like it to me. What's beautiful is that constant journey of discovering these pieces of myself that would make me whole, if that's ever gonna happen, even before I die, because we don't know, right? Although even if I'm not completely whole, I'm not completely lost either. So maybe instead of answering the question now, what's keeping you whole these days, it's more about what's keeping me centered these days. And what it is that opportunity to still be able to use my gifts in the work that I do and the work that I'm given. I could already imagine how distraught I would have been if COVID-19 held my work life in a standstill, as in if I was doing nothing, because it would have robbed me of the opportunity to continuously use my gifts and to serve those that I want to serve. So that is what's keeping me centered these days.
Okay, thank you, Aileen. Before I move on to Andre, somebody wants to ask something. Grace wants to ask something to Sydney. Go ahead, Grace.
Hi, Sydney. It's so nice to for you to be here with us today. I'm part of Ignite, and I used to work in the banking industry as well before. I
Yes.
do have a question in relation to the difference of wellness and wholeness. So in the banking sector, right, you do have like a training program for wellness, right?
Yes, we do.
For your employees, right? Okay, so I want to I'm just curious as to I'm sure you believe in an individual or an employee working in an organization, and you as the boss and as a leader, you want this person to be whole, right? I want to know if you have programs that addresses that.
What is it? Is it personal or is it for business?
Perhaps for team building or for team wellness or wholeness. Do you have those programs in your organization?
We do offer similar to that, not exactly team building, but similar to that.
All right.
And most of the time, it actually is how do you call this? Initiated by the group itself.
I see. So for your team members, what personal advocacy do you do as to how to keep your team alive and whole for that matter?
The openness and the trust that we have with each other. Because the nice thing about the people that I work with, despite the fact of that you have a particular title or position, um, I mean, the staff or the junior ones don't feel threatened to actually approach us, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
We feel that their stance, their belief is as important as how we would actually suggest our opinions or the suggestions that we have.
I see, I see. So you also have this kind of culture wherein collaboration is highly encouraged.
Oh yes, definitely. It's one of the things that we do stress out in the bank.
I see. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Andre.
Yeah, what's the question?
Okay, we're talking about how it makes you whole nowadays. What are you drinking? What's in your drink, Andre?
Is that the question?
Because you're asking me what we're talking about there. So I'm just wondering what's in your drink. Okay, what's making you whole? Is that making you whole nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, what you put inside your body, the whole. Yeah.
Mm.
Sorry.
We're talking about what's keeping you whole these days. You were talking about it earlier that you're whole, right? Like you're on. I was asking you 1 to 4. You're number 4. So,
Well, I
is there?
think, I in particular listening to Sydney. Um, there was a notion that was creeping up in my head where, in times like this, you can only be who you are. If the team is performing at a 5 out of 4, it was because that's who they were. That's who we are, even before this happened. And so the question to me becomes, what made us who we are? And to me, it's the habits and the behaviors and the practices. This amorphous thing that people usually call culture. I think in times like these, you see, and you don't have to write it on a piece of paper. You don't have to put it on a plaque on a wall. You see the culture and the character of a team and of people. And I think that goes directly to what's keeping me whole. What's keeping me whole these days is what's kept me whole um, in life, day in and day out, which is um, anchoring my life, knowing that my life has to be about something bigger than myself. And that's something we've always stressed in our team. Not by way of propaganda or corporate speak, but really understanding that's the driving force. That's why we wake up every day, and that's why we take so much pains to, in a sense, be a pain in the ass to each other. I'm a pain in the ass guy, right? I'm a pain in the ass guy because I want to be useful. I don't want to just show up at work and earn my paycheck. I want impact. Impact is a big capital I word that we use. And I think what's keeping us whole this day is we've trained every single day of our lives as a team to focus on impact and to deliver impact. So when I wake up these days, I remember even before this, there was a thread in the team on a Saturday in days like these where I told the team, guys, this has been nagging me for the past couple of weeks. But why do we always start? Because we recently launched something called 100 Hours Launchpad, right? It's a toolkit, step by step, which guides senior leadership in an organization how to bang out breakthrough solutions in 100 hours or less. That's why it's called the 100 Hours Launchpad. And in the methodology, the starting point is zero in on your target stakeholder. And then step number, After that is zero in on the target problems of your target stakeholders, meaning their pains, right? So that is very counterintuitive and counter the instinct of 99 out of 100 teams that would be operating in a situation like this. Most teams would start out with either of two things, neither of which is what we start out with. Most teams will start out by zeroing in on a problem, or more likely, zeroing in on a solution. People are excited about ideas, solutions. So what we always zero in on is not even the problem. It's the human being, right? And that's what keeps me whole, is thinking about when I wake up in the morning, all my blessings, all my gifts, all my pains, I know because I thought this way day in and day out for so long. I know that they are meant to serve somebody. And I know who that somebody is in the context of our company, and I'm obsessed about that somebody. And so that's what keeps me going. That's why you've heard me in our Ignite sessions. You know, we've in Ignite we've invested more than 200 million pesos in the past since we started Ignite in 2017 on innovation ventures. And when people come up to me and talk to me about their advocacy, that the mission of this solution is about the environment. Okay, that sounds good, but you have to talk to me about the human being you are serving, because too many people serve causes, right? And to me, you have to make it real, and to make it real, you have to have compassion and connection with human beings. And so I don't mean to preach, but if you ask me, I have to keep it real. What keeps me whole? It's I know that my gifts can make human beings' lives better, especially in a situation like this. And I get up every day, and that's what I focus on. And that's what I focus my team on. And I think that's why we are doing very well. Because the people we serve are very real to us, and we want to serve them, and we have the gifts to serve them.
Okay, there's no question that you're whole. But now my question is, we're in a very challenging situation because of COVID-19. There has to be some sort of one factor or some forces out there that will hinder you from being a 6. Sabi mo 6, diba? You want to be a 6. What is that number one enemy in this regard?
I think getting distracted. It's very difficult. I can shut off Facebook, and I'll tell you this: it's like we live in a BC world and an AD world, right? Before Christ and then Anno Domini, right? There's that version of that. It's like before the virus, after the virus, right? Before the virus, I was pretty good at shutting off Facebook Monday to Friday, right? Actually, in the weeks leading up to the pandemic, I had even gone entire weekends. So I'd probably not checked Facebook in about something like 3 weeks, right? And of course, in the age of pandemic, I open Facebook a lot more. If nothing else, because I have to post about all the stuff we're doing online nowadays. And also, it's a very good, I wouldn't say it's a very good, but it's another way to stay connected to the world, because I can't go out anymore, right? The way I can feel the world is I make phone calls, I make conference calls outside of our teams, but I also see what's going on in various groups on Facebook. But that's a double-edged sword. And if you ask me what can derail me, it's Facebook. It's social media and all that noise, right? Because every moment I spend there is every moment I do not spend discerning and strengthening my inner self, right? And so that's one. And it certainly had its fair share of moments where, and it's not just Facebook. If I can avoid Facebook, I can't avoid all the Viber groups, right? In our village, what we did is we subdivided the village into smaller subdivisions of streets and blocks. And I was asked to lead one street or block. So now, whether I like it or not, I have to pay attention to Viber groups. I have to organize things. So um, I think it's something I learned as a path to wholeness about 5 years ago when I suddenly developed backaches that I would say diabolical backaches that came from out of nowhere, is saying no to things. And nowadays, with so many situations needing help, there's a tendency to say yes to too many things. So if you everything you say yes to is is will take you away from some other thing that you are saying yes to. So you have to be very careful about saying yes and no. No. So I think that's one. Um, I think also that, I mean, I'll go back to an easy answer that I was able to give you a while ago about family, right? So yes, I said that my wife is okay, my kids are okay. But if I continue on week after week after week, just focusing on work, I mean, every so often these days, my wife will already send me messages over Viber. We're in the same house, right? I mean, nobody's going anywhere. And she's like, you have to manage your time better, right? I'm not liking this anymore. So I think that needs to be balanced in the coming weeks. And I think it will, because in the first 14 days of this, I really had to wrestle this to the ground. I needed to make sure that our team, all these disparate individuals, was going to be in the same page while we were never seeing each other, right? And that's the first thing I had to wrestle with. And I'm confident now that we're there. So now I have to move on to other things. So it's a balance. Again, dancing to the rhythm of God. The first 14 days, he was calling me there. Now I have to swing back to the other side. So that's it. I think
Okay.
more than anything else, it's centering on the voice. On the voice, there's never a complete, perfect answer. The only complete, perfect answer is staying in the moment and allowing yourself to be led.
Okay. So before I ask Aileen and Sydney, Dandy, I think you is your question still relevant? I think you posted that in the chat a while ago. Go ahead if you want to ask a question to the panel.
Yeah, I throw this question to the panel because upon hearing all your answers regarding your definition of wholeness, now it got me thinking, is wholeness just for the privileged? The reason I ask this is that wholeness seems to be in the top level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? But what about for people who are still trying to survive, especially during this crisis, who are still having problems feeding their families, the basic needs? Or is wholeness sort of like a privilege in and of itself? What are your thoughts?
That's a great question, Dandy. Yeah, in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think the wholeness that we're talking about here is all the way there, all the way up there in self-actualization. No? So, who wants to answer this first? Let's hear from Sydney or Aileen. Would you like to answer Dandy's question? Is wholeness just for the privilege?
I have a reaction to that,
Okay.
if I may. And I'm trying to bring up a. I'm trying to bring up. Give me a second. So I'm trying to bring up a quote. All right. Yeah. So as an investor that invests in many different ventures. One of our ventures, I would read to you a message that involves precisely one of these demographics that Dandy is talking about. It's a company that has employees that are living in these areas. And one of the leaders was checking in on their employees, and this was what the employee was sharing. Okay, a very vivid um, reality of what it feels like in the ground in exactly these circles that Dandy is referring to, of where Maslow has different hierarchy, or where the pronunciation, the hierarchy is different. So I will read it, okay? Kami hindi okay. Kasi kabilaan na yung positive dito sa lugar namin. 6 yung patay. Tapos may 3 pa yung positive kahapon lang. Lahat ng iskinita dito sa amin, lahat may harang. Sinusunog agad yung patay dito sa lugar namin. Okay. So, I think, Dandy, that's a fair portrayal of your question. How do these people live out wholeness? Can they even talk about wholeness? I think a couple of points. They probably won't refer to it as wholeness or in the same vocabulary or lingo that we're talking about it in the confines of this nice couch and this pretty refreshing drink that I'm talking about, right? And they're probably not spending their time reflecting on whether they're whole or they're not whole, or how can they be whole. But I have to believe that as a human being, we share this common experience and truth, no? Which is, regardless of our station in life, we are put in situations, and this is a very vivid situation where a person is put in, where they can respond in many different ways. They can respond by saying, I can't take it anymore. They can respond by throwing up their hands in the air and just dropping their jaws and like, tulala. They can respond by spreading fake news and getting hysteric and spreading panic. Or they can respond by intuiting instinctively the circle of people around them. And for them, that might be their immediate family. And they might gather themselves up and they might say, look, nanay, tatay, anak, apo, iha, huminahon kayo, mag-isip tayo. Ito kailangan natin gawin, ha? Ikaw, ito gawin mo, yan gawin mo to. Tayo, sama-sama tayo, ha? Basta importante, huwag tayo lumabas. I don't know, because I'm not in that situation. But I have to think, we have enough in common as human beings that whether I'm running a multi-billion peso company or I am in a household where we are trying to survive, literally, physically surrounded by the virus, that I have to gather myself and find what it is in myself that I can give to the situation to make the people around me better, to make the situation around me no worse. So to me, it is a false dichotomy to say that only wealthier or well-to-do people can practice wholeness. They will not be calling it wholeness the way we are somewhat comfortably talking about it today. But to me, wholeness, I go back, I have integrity about my definition of wholeness. I said it is a human being's capacity to channel what is good in themselves to make the world a better place. And I don't think that discriminates according to social class. It is a function of how in touch you are with the needs of the world around you and what your gifts are. So that at any given situation, you can, to go back to something I mentioned before, you can dance to the rhythm of God. The rhythm of God is in the multi-billion peso places. The rhythm of God is in the squalor of these places right now. There is always a way to serve. And what can we serve with? With our wholeness. What is that? It's not our perfection. It's what's good in us. There is always something good in a human being that can make a fellow human being better. And if you gather yourself enough, if you do not allow your pain, all the pain and hurt, to destroy you, then you will be able to give. And to me, that defies social class. Does that help?
Tandy?
Yeah, I mean, just in social media, we see people, even those who almost have nothing, be still being able to give something of themselves to others.
Yeah.
I maybe in that sense, that's wholeness.
Yes.
Agree. Actually, I was about to say the same thing because earlier the way I defined wholeness was really about knowing what they have in terms of skills, talents, and abilities, and then channeling it where they're needed. And I can give a very specific example to the framework that you just shared, Andre, about how this doesn't discriminate. Because I live in an interesting community. It has a mix of those that semi have, and then those na talagang walang wala. And a lot of our neighbors have actually lost their jobs, including the ones who are homeowner officers and such. But regardless of that situation, they were still able to provide solutions for our community, ensure that we're all safe. It didn't rattle them. They like, and when I asked them, Kuya, kamusta? Wala ka ng trabaho pero bakit may mga ganito pa tayong mga activities? Like, they had someone from the government come to our community to disinfect. They were able to do a lot of things within the last 2 weeks, even in the middle of them not knowing where they're gonna get their next meal. And nung tinanong ko siya, sabi niya, kasi ganun talaga, serbisyo ko to eh. Yun. So to me, they probably don't talk about it as wholeness, but pag pinapanood ko sila, sabi ko, oh my God, they're living their life whole because they're servicing something that they feel very compassionate for. And it's quite inspiring actually to watch them in action. At nakaka-guilty siya, at least in my end, na parang, oh, how else can I contribute to these people in my community? Because as opposed to them, I probably am in a better place.
Thank you, Aileen. Sydney, you want to add anything?
Yeah, wholeness. I do believe that they also deserve to have that feeling to be whole. It's just that the given circumstance or the situation that we currently are in probably might not allow them to be completely whole. Because they're so busy servicing us, they're so busy trying to do things for us. Like, for instance, a daily age Werner needs to earn his keep in order to put his family through. And probably, I don't want to be sounding political here, then probably that's the time wherein our government can come in and be able to at least support at least whatever is allotted of that particular budget, to be able to at least pull them through for the next few days. That's my stance.
Okay. So thank you, Sid. So hence, when this enemy number one strikes, we tend to lose sight of direction. Like, I think it's temporary. I think it's like COVID came, hit us like a cannonball. You don't know that it was coming. And everybody, regardless, rich or poor, it doesn't matter, And this fight is, we call it fight of for humanity, right? So all of a sudden, the road ahead of you, like your career, your life, even if it's all planned, all of a sudden it becomes bleak and obscure. You don't know what lies ahead. It's so uncertain, and so people, like, when it hit us, you don't know where to go. So how do we thrive then amidst this crisis? So in this time of social distancing, have we really stopped and asked ourselves, how distant have we become from our true self? Because that's what we're asking. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, but it's asking yourself, really, am I just doing this to survive? Or is there something more in me that I can give to humanity, for each and every one of us? Just keep ourselves afloat and fight and win this battle. So how can we see that clear road again? So here in Ignite, we talk about GPS as a deeply personal navigation system for life. GPS, now I'm revealing it. GPS stands by Wholeness. GPS, it stands for Genius, Purpose, and Service. That's the internal navigation system that we believe each one of us has. If we are honest and brave, it will always lead us to our deepest truth. And so we will fulfill our highest potential and greatest promise. In other words, this GPS is our way to peak performance. Rather than explain GPS, let us understand through the lens of this question. This question, I'm addressing it to the panel and at the same time to the viewers. I'm going to leave this question. I'm going to ask the tech team to please post it on the board, on the screen. What is it in you that is most alive in you, that you most want to give to others in order to make the world a better place? This is what we were talking about since early on. Andre was been talking about it, but we're not revealing what it is. But each one of us has that. So we have 10 minutes before we run out of time. I'm going to ask the panel now, what is that in you that is most alive in you now, that's leading you, even if your eyes are closed, in the midst of this pandemic, in order to make the world a better place? Aileen, you ready with your answer?
Yeah. I'm ready. I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna read it because I really took time kanina to reflect on this when you told me that this was gonna be asked as a question, because I had answers to this before, but I feel like the last 2 weeks have also given me an opportunity to reflect back on this question. So I'm just gonna read it out as I have written it earlier. So what is it in you that is most alive in you that you most want to give others in order to make the world a better place? I am intrigued by unique qualities of people. I'm a keen observer of other people's strength, and I work to draw that out, to draw out the best in each person. I feel compelled to nurture, refine, and stretch it towards impact. Taking something from point A to point B gives me great joy, and I seem to be gifted with the ability to do it. This, in turn, allows me to build productive teams by casting individual strength so we can all do what we do well, and do it together. And we can stretch ourselves so we can go beyond what we have accomplished time and time again until we achieve that vision of that impact that we want. That's how I've redefined what this is for me.
Okay, thank you, Aileen. Sydney, you ready?
It's passion. The passion knowing that the sun will always rise despite the situation. And I do remember my mom saying to me, when the sun rises and the sun sets, there's always hope. But more importantly, if you have faith, then things move forward. And if you start with that and you have that in you, you have the ability to influence others, to feel that when everyone else is feeling low, become the light for people so that they feel that they're not alone in this fight. But more importantly, is having known that after all this, and maybe, and I hope that we all learn from it, having the idea of looking forward to nurturing more relationships, not only trying to get in touch with people through Facebook or through other types of social media, but being able to at least have the ability to personally be there for people that matters most in your life. Now, probably we would actually cherish relationships more. We would be able to feel how good it is to really shake the hand. I did read something this morning coming from a friend wherein she said, you know, Paris used to be the city of romance. No longer is. Currently, because no one is there. No one is there to really enjoy how it is and the beauty of the place. Disneyland used to be the magical place. Maybe not. But with all these that are happening, when all ends, then maybe the world will be a much better place to live in, because now it's not about how much do you earn, what your position is, who you are, but really cherishing the relationships we have with people and treating others kindly. I mean, this particular situation right now had taught me a lot, not only to serve myself, but also to be someone who will actually be the light and the energy to others in order to get through this. Yeah.
Thank you, Sydney. Andre, your GPS.
So what is it in me that is most alive in me? Right? What is it in me that is most alive in me? That I want to most give to others. Um, I think listening to our to my co-panelists, Aileen and Sydney. Um, I would like to answer this question by acknowledging what is it that sitting here, listening to them, what is it that I see in them that is most alive in them that they can offer the world? That, in a sense, sometimes it's easier to see this from a bit of a distance, and you can see, you know what, that person. I can see this quality in that person, and and you have that certain sense of uh, sureness and confidence that what you see in that person, wow, if they just channeled it out, that could be good for the world. And so I'd like to first answer this question by first acknowledging my co-panelists. Of course, Aileen, I've known her for a long time. Amongst our team, she's the one who's worked with me the longest, I believe. And what it is that she says that is most alive in her, the ability to um, be in the background, on the backstage when everybody else is in the front stage. Sometimes I have to like grab her by the collar and like pull her into the front stage because she will not have her voice heard in the front stage. But she is the strength that pulls everyone together. That for all the ideas I have that I want done, she is the one who makes sure that it gets done at the level of, and that is a spectacular gift without which there is no ignite and there is no impact. So definitely the multiplicative effect of an impact of ignite is impossible without Eileen's gifts. And then when I look at Sydney, in the hour and a half that I've known her, although not really known her, I mean, I can definitely, when you ask, what is it in her that is most alive in her, I can sense a very intense passion that understands the world and discerns the world and its truths at a deeper level than most other people would be able to grasp. And then she has this quiet, solid confidence to be able to exude that and vibrate it to others so that they in turn have this confidence. So I think I don't know that there is a label for that. I am at a loss for words as to what to describe that. But that is the strength of character that I see in both Aileen and Sydney that the world needs today. That when everybody else is running for the doors, there are people who have the strength of character, the self-belief, but also the sense of service, of being bigger than themselves. I think this is so important. So as for me, what is this? I think I probably alluded to it when I scored myself. I said 4, but not out of 4. 4 because my standard is 6. So I'm an itinerant human being at heart. I am not meant to keep still. I often joke that I am unemployable. I'm unemployable. I cannot report to work and be told that this is what I have to do, and I have to get incrementally better every day at that. I have to redefine the world, and an artist has their canvas. I have a lot of art in this room, none of which is mine because I cannot draw even if you put a gun to my head and said I'm going to pull the trigger unless I can't draw. But I am an artist, and my canvas is business. My canvas is impact. And when we are today here, I can point to a very distant vision, and I can get people to believe that they can get there. And more important than that, I can get them to believe why it's important for them to get there. And why it's important for them to get there is because they have gifts to get there, and by getting there, they will make the world a better place. So that is what I will continue to be to the universe, to the people around me, is to continue to point not to where we are today, but to point to where we are today is not enough. And it's not enough because we're ambitious. It's not enough because we have a lot more to give, and we can get much farther in this universe because we have a lot more people to serve, and therefore we cannot stay here. We have to go there. So let's go there. So that's my GPS, and that's what I have continuously done, and that's what I will continuously do with joy and gratitude, and wholeness. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for those beautiful words, Andre. But we're running out of time, so can you just say goodbye to our viewers and just one round of last words for the whole panel? Andre? Andre, can you just continue and just say goodbye to our viewers because it's already 5 o'clock. I don't want to keep them. Just your last words, please.
That's easy. Goodbye to our viewers.
Okay. Aileen.
Bye. Thank you again for having me.
And Sydney.
Thank you so much. Keep safe, everyone. Light and love.
Thank you so much to our panel and to our viewers. I'm sorry that was a very intense conversation. We didn't have time to really bring you in, especially those who are in Facebook. But what I'm going to leave you is this question that we asked our panel. What is it in you that is most alive in you that you must want to give to others in order to make the world a better place? I hope you can type in the comment section in Facebook. We want to hear what your answer is. You can type it here in the chat box. If you don't know what your answer is yet, I want you to take it with you maybe tonight, ponder, and just try to figure out what it is, so that we will have this little something, this GPS directing us to what we can give to humanity in this time of crisis. I hope you were able to learn something in this 1.5 hours with us. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the pilot episode of 12 weeks peak performance in a time of Corona. Next week, we will reveal to you what the topic is. In the chat box, we will be posting a link so that you can go to our microsite and figure out and see what the topic is every week, every Saturday, 3:30 to 5. We also have other webcasts happening every Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 8:30 in the morning. We have an everyday mindfulness. This will help you and your team, your family stay focused and balanced in the midst of crisis. And we also have 100 Hours Launchpad every Tuesdays and Thursdays with our Inno guys. And here in Ignite, we keep on ideating, we keep on giving whatever we can give out there. So please check out our site so that you can see our calendar of events, our community webcasts. This officially ends our 12 weeks peak performance in a time of Corona. I'm Joanna Alberto on behalf of the Ignite team. Thank you so much, and keep igniting wholeness. Peak Pad, signing off. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Sydney and Aileen. It's nice.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Aileen.